we are with another episode of Sidebar, and today we want to talk about what it means to hang on to hope during the holidays. And we're in another holiday season, believe it or not. And holidays have a variety of responses in seasons like this. For some, there's excitement, there's joy, there's anticipation, there's being together with loved ones. For others, there's dread, there's sadness, and this is a season filled with anger at having to be together with loved ones. For others, there's a season where a reminder of loss, whether a loved one has died or relationship has ended. So there's like a spectrum. And we're going to spend some time talking about unique areas that are affected by decisions we make and even attitudes we bring into a season, whether that's financial, relational, emotional, self-care. But there's a spectrum there. So Brian, Danny, I would love to ask you two, what side of that spectrum do you lean to? The one that's like anticipation and joy and excitement, or the side that's like a little sadness, a little bit of dread, like, oh no, here we go, another holiday season?
Yeah. Who goes first?
Uh-oh.
You go, Danny. Ladies first.
I'll take it. This year's a little bit different. This is my first year living on my own for the holidays. So like finances, I've got rent to pay for the first time. So I've got rent and also balancing out gifts for loved ones. And also my family lives in Tennessee now. So this will be the first Thanksgiving without my parents, which is very nerve-wracking, but super exciting because I still have family here. So I'll be able to spend it with loved ones still.
But it's a mix of things.
Yeah. So it's excitement to still be with family. Very thankful for that. But also a little bit of sadness because I won't be with my immediate family.
Totally understand.
But also looking forward to Christmas because I'll still have my first Christmas in Tennessee. So excited for that. Sounds like a Hallmark movie.
It really does. I mean, I feel like your life is a Hallmark movie when I think about it, Danny.
Lifetime or Hallmark?
Hallmark.
Okay, Hallmark.
On Hallmark for sure.
Let's check.
Thanks.
What do the people say? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
By the way, happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas,
Happy holidays.
and Happy New Year. And to cover it all, umbrella, happy holidays. Make sure Jesus is the reason for the season.
Yes.
I would say for me, looking into this year and thinking about the past couple years, geez, what a couple years we've been through together. And I think this is going to be the first holiday season now in a couple where we'll actually maybe have some sense of kind of what new normal kind of looks like. Maybe not. I mean, I could also be totally wrong as we film this today, but
Who knows?
but for me personally, this is a season filled with excitement and anticipation and expectation. As we film this podcast today, tomorrow we have a planned C-section. And by we, I mean my wife.
Yes.
Let's be really frank about that. So I have a new baby girl that's going to be in our mix in this holiday season. There's kind of the wonder of it all. We've already like set up Christmas. I feel like generally right now, the Christmas season feels like it's already started. I feel like I know more people.
Halloween is down.
We didn't
Christmas
even
is
set
up.
up Christmas the past 2 years. I'm just being honest. But like we were set up Veterans Day weekend with like Christmas tree, we're getting stuff ready. So I feel like anticipation, expectation, there's a sense of hope is on the horizon. I feel like as we look to a new year, I know a new year is just a new year. It's a day, it's a page turn in a day that leads us into a new month and a new year. But I'm excited. I'm excited for what God's up to, the potential, even for us as a local church, of what we get to be a part of, pushing forward our vision and hope. So hope-filled, that's how I'd say.
So a new baby.
Yep.
Tomorrow on your 40th birthday.
Come on.
Happy birthday.
I was going to leave that part out.
That's pretty crazy.
Welcome to the new decade.
Totally. So in all of those kinds of things, there is a mix of emotions. I feel this mix of emotions. And when it comes to something like a topic of relationships, holiday seasons can be a mixed bag as well on relationships. There's maybe some of us who are like, we just can't wait to get together with family. Others, we're getting together with family. And I'm an introvert. I'm pretty much a raging introvert. And it's not that I don't like being around people. It's that a lot of the times, the more I'm around people, the more space I need to recharge in order to re-engage again. And it feels like our world is potentially never been as divided as it is now. Our world has never been as polarized as it is right now. And going into the holidays, I mean, it used to be the things you don't talk about at a dinner table, like religion, politics, whatever else. It's like those are the only things that sometimes we talk about. And the chances are pretty good. I don't think we're going to solve all of the politics or the divisiveness over the figgy pudding. What is figgy pudding, by the way?
I thought you were going to answer that as the elder statesman on this podcast.
Well, I will defer to another episode of this podcast. But what do we do when a controversial topic comes up? What do we do with the dread of thinking, I'm going to be with that person and it's going to go bad? What do you two think? Are there things you've wrestled with? Are there decisions you've made to prepare in advance for potential relational conflict, or even just to make the most of it in a holiday season?
I mean, I tend to be the peacemaker and keeper.
Okay.
But that usually stems from a fear of confrontation.
Oh,
So
yep.
may not be the healthiest, but for me, I would love to just not even contribute sometimes, which may be controversial for some people. They're all about contributing.
Why are you so
to
quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to know your opinion. And for me, the best way to keep peace and make peace is to trust in a God who's already won the war and the battle.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I have to contribute
He's
to
made
your...
peace available.
Yeah, I don't need to contribute to
Yep.
your, whether it's political or religious, like whatever your attack is, I don't need to contribute because I already know
It's good.
my stance. And I find peace in that, and definitely still working on how to face confrontation in a loving way. But yeah, just focusing more on the peace than the confrontation is how I've gone about
That's
it.
good. That's good.
I feel like the tricky part of this season that we find ourselves coming into is, for many of us, it'll be the first time we see family in some cases in years. It has been years that have passed now, and a lot has happened in the last 2 years, and I think a lot has been revealed. Society at large, we've become in some ways a lot more vocal on every front about all kinds of different things, and social media probably hasn't been our best friend in that. And I think it's been divisive. I've had a number of conversations already in this season with people who are very concerned about their holiday family gatherings based on just family members who they don't have a lot of contact or touch point. Just because you're family, by the way, doesn't mean you're all best friends.
Yeah.
There's family that I only see once a year around Thanksgiving, Christmas, who live in different places. It's not because we're estranged, but just because of how life is. Yeah. And these become those moments where the melting pot of family comes back together, and so do all of the issues that we've been through these last couple of years, and our ability to have seen everybody's stance on this or that the issue. And that has, I think, is causing a fair amount of fear, anxiety, concern, and even family opting out of stuff. So I think there's people probably walking into the season, and maybe that's you who are listening right now, that you're walking into this season going, yeah, that's me, and I'm opting out of family stuff because it's been so divisive. Yep. It's been so divisive. And so I personally, I'm excited to see family, but that's, large in part because of our season. We have a unique season, and a baby kind of covers a multitude of sins.
Baby is a peacemaker.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Brene Brown says something cool, though. She says, normally when someone we love or people that we love are turning away from a struggle or a situation, we self-protect by turning away. And then she says, that's definitely her first response. And then she says, I think change is more likely to happen if all of us have common language and a shared lens to see our problems through.
Good.
And I don't know that family always knows how to have that framework of coming together towards our issues, but I just don't think a Thanksgiving dinner is going to be the place we're going to solve our political differences, or our take on COVID, or our take on the church we've been at, or maybe aren't at anymore. Anyway, those are a few of my thoughts.
I think one of my biggest concerns, but I think it's also one of the biggest opportunities we have, is to actually make decisions ahead of time that set us up for success in the holiday season. Because so often I think what happens is the holidays just happen to us. We haphazardly go through a season that we haven't prepared for. And relationally, I think there is some things we can prepare for. If we take note of what or who triggers us, and we prepare in advance for, hey, if that person, if that conversation, and we have a plan of what we're going to do, I think we can go into a season with our hearts in a more settled place. I think one of the things I don't always practice it well, but I really believe in my heart of hearts, this is key. It's learn to ask better and learn to ask more questions.
Right.
And instead of just that old axiom of seek first to understand before you seek to be understood. So many times, divisiveness or like strong emotion can be worked through with questions instead of statements, and trying to understand and learn where's a person coming from. But I also think like we need to give ourselves and each other permission to just call time out, to excuse ourselves from a conversation or a situation that we don't end up regretting. That's my biggest concern. We don't prepare, and then something happens, and then we spend the rest of the holiday season regretting what happened in a moment at the Thanksgiving table, at the Christmas table. And it's like we can actually escape some of the regret by making some decisions ahead of time. And even, I mean, this is crazy, but I'm an avoider. I think you sort of mentioned that, Danny. Sometimes a peacemaker's like, I just don't want to go there. But if we actually go there in a conversation, maybe with somebody we're just not seeing eye to eye, and like we over communicate, hey, we're going to be together. Could we not negatively affect everybody because of this? Could we just agree we're not going to go there around Thanksgiving? Maybe schedule a different meeting to have a conversation, or not. But just to say, we're not going to make everybody miserable because we don't see eye to eye on this. And it feels like the culture is say what you want, when you want, no matter what people think. Is like, could we not do that this holiday season? Because that's not going to help anybody hang on to hope. But over communicating, Paul has these amazing words in Romans 12. I just always think about him in these moments. If it is possible, as far as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. That you said you're a peacemaker, Danny. That's actually, I think, all of our invitation to do our part, to take personal responsibility, to do what we can as it depends on us. We can't make everybody else be peaceable, but man, we sure can be people of peace in those conversations. And maybe that sets a table for others to experience a peace in a season like this.
I totally agree with that. And as you're talking, I'm thinking to myself, how do I actually do that in practical ways that I'm choosing? And why do I want to wade into those? Some of us are contentious enough where we kind of like to
like
poke
a good fight.
Yeah, we're like to kind of just like, oh yeah, I think I saw that Facebook post that cousin posted or whatever, and so just want to poke that a little bit, and then inevitably it makes no mother happy when everybody's fighting around the Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve table. But I was thinking about Proverbs 13:10. It says, pride only breeds quarrels. Yeah. But to your point, wisdom is found in those who take advice. So we'd be good to take your advice that if we take on a Philippians 2 attitude, which is submit one to another, consider others better than yourself. Yep. That doesn't have a parentheses that says, unless they don't share your opinions.
Absolutely.
It's just actually dying to myself and practicing Philippians 2 and serving my family members or those that are going to be around our table is actually a way to model the gospel in a powerful way. But my pride sometimes wants to bubble up. My challenger side sometimes wants to bubble up, and I want to educate maybe some people on some thoughts that I have about this, that, or the other thing, and it may just not be the most helpful, peaceable thing to do. But also, how do we not avoid some good dialogue that can actually be helpful? How do we have helpful dialogue about things that maybe we can have some decent discussions as well? So I feel like I'm in that tension point too of like, so do you just avoid all potentially meaningful conversation in an effort to like, no, we just want to like only have peace. We don't want to talk about anything real. What do you guys think about that? How do you step into having honest conversations while also not letting your pride get the best of the conversation, but really trying to seek to understand while also trying to keep the peace?
Yeah, I think definitely going about thinking of conversations I've had that weren't even during the holidays. It was more like during like political and stuff like that. I always lean on the phrase, which is similar to your seek first to understand instead of being understood was so many people, when they're in a conversation, are hearing to respond instead of listening to understand.
Oh, you mean what I just did?
Yeah.
Ha!
Got it.
I mean, it's in every conversation, not even conflict conversations. It's like, I'm listening so that I have something to say right after you. And it's, hold on. It's okay to take a pause, filter what they've said, ask a question, maybe you need more understanding. And my best advice that I've received as I've like walked around different people of different beliefs is to never push what you believe onto somebody else. I've found that's what's worked best. Because if somebody's constantly attacking me with what they believe and thinking that I need to believe that, I've felt attacked and been like, I don't want to have this conversation then. So if I'm reacting that same way, then it's not gonna, we're just gonna keep butting heads. But if I stand from my standpoint, just be like, hey, what I personally believe, how I feel, and I'm no longer saying you need to think this way, it kind of takes the ease off.
And I think it's the difference between challenge and invitation. And even as a worship leader, it's one of my it's one of the things I try not to do. I don't want to challenge people too much. I want to invite people. Yeah. And I think that's a really important thought in conversation and relationships. If I take on I'm going to challenge this person and challenge all the things that they've really challenged me on via Facebook or Instagram, I don't think that's going to be fruitful, to your point. And that's that pushing part, pushing your beliefs, versus if I'm just how I present even a thought or an idea, and hopefully they're kingdom thoughts and ideas, may it be said of me that the way I'm presenting it isn't challenging, but it's actually inviting. And by the way we have conversations, it invites somebody into a different way of thinking that maybe they have never thought about. And just the tone and posture of how I come into a conversation that could be contentious is inviting.
Absolutely. But relationally, I think remembering what really is going on and what's the point. And the point of the holiday season is not to solve all the issues. It's to be together.
Yeah, good.
And so I think there's an ability, like what you're saying, Danny, if you lean into understanding, if you lean into truly listening, you're able to measure your own reactivity. And if you're really reactive, it's probably not the good time to have a conversation. What's more difficult is to measure somebody else's reactivity and to be sensitive whether to go there or not. And there's a time and there's a place. And I think freeing us from maybe the holidays isn't the time or the place, or in the proper circumstance, maybe it is, but being wise enough, discerning enough to do that. And I think at the core, we all three sort of spoke to this a little bit. How do we live at peace with everyone in the holidays, whether we agree, disagree? How do we hang on to hope? And relationally, here's an invitation we just want to leave everybody with. We can be people of peace. And people of peace first have that in themselves in order to offer it. We can't give anybody something we don't ourselves have. But let's be people of peace in this holiday season. Let's personally hang on to hope so that we can offer that to others in this season. And potentially that makes all the difference in our holiday experience this year.
Yeah, that's great. And a practical way even that we might do that is maybe we've never prayed into our family gatherings. Maybe we've missed a key component of and wondered, why isn't there peace around even prior to the last 2 years? Why isn't there peace around our holiday season together as a family? And what if we just let prayer be an anchor point for how we approach this unique new season of gathering as family and friends around the table, and we're inviting Jesus intentionally and thoughtfully into being the one that brings the peace in and through us into those spaces and places. So I'm challenged to be a more prayerful and mindful person of how I'm inviting Jesus in, and then while we're together, am I being mindful, Jesus, Christ in me, Christ in me, Christ in me, may you be the peacemaker in and through me when those situations are bubbling up around the table. So
why don't we do that?
Yep.
Why don't we end with a prayer of preparation for everybody in the holiday season? Since it was your idea,
I love it.
Why don't you give the prayer?
Oh, let's do it. Yeah, Jesus, we pray that you would give us the ability to be the peacemakers who represent all of who you are, every attribute of your character and your goodness and your kindness as we sit around Thanksgiving tables, that they would not be filled with contentiousness, but they would be filled with thankful people, and that we would be the ones leading the way in that. God, I pray that you would help us to be Philippians 2 kind of people, that take on the posture of submitting one to another, considering others better than ourselves, including cousins who maybe think differently than we do, including aunts and uncles that maybe are on a different page than us. May we see the Imago Dei, the image of God, in those who share our same blood in many cases. And would you allow us to be people of hope that deal out, and through our posturing, we deal out the hope that can only be found in you. Help us in this holiday season to come in knowing that you desire us to have relationships, and that we don't need to avoid relationships. We just need to invite you into helping us shape those and be the people of peace in the middle of them. Help us now, every single one of us. I pray that we would find amazing peace, amazing conversations, and all kinds of hope and joy around our tables in this coming season. In your name, amen.
Amen.